A very good morning to you. It is 7 a.m. Tuesday, June 24th, 2025. Welcome to ONNJ Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato taking your calls at 888-658-0234, 888-658-0234. The heat wave certainly continues. Sunny today again, near record-breaking highs around 99, 100 degrees. We head straight to meteorologist Mike Favetta with the first check of this morning's Garden State forecast. Mike, when you're talking that kind of temperature, 99, 100, it really doesn't matter, does it?
It doesn't. I mean, it's stifling. We broke records yesterday at Newark Airport and expected to break records yet again today. The hottest day ever in June in New Jersey was 103 degrees. We could
Ah,
tie that as soon as today. And that
wow.
doesn't include the heat index. That's actual air temperature. So, with today being hotter than yesterday, Ken, the extreme heat warning now extends right down to Cape May. If you remember yesterday, the southern half of New Jersey, especially south of the Atlantic City Expressway, just had the heat advisory, meaning temperatures feel like 95 to 100 in the afternoon. Oh no, today it'll feel like 105 or greater across the entire state, except for the ocean or in Monmouth County beaches. You see that shade of orange right there. This is not just for today. This lasts through tomorrow evening for that extreme heat warning, taking us right throughout the end of the day tomorrow. So another round of big heat. It is already 88 degrees in Newark at 7 a.m., even 86 in Camden, and the feels like temperature even warmer. So that's 4 degrees warmer than this time yesterday, and the humidity is stifling. It is very muggy. The air is thick and it stays humid throughout this afternoon. There are some of the air quality alerts for the northeastern corner of the state. That's shown there in that yellow color, and all of the clear sky today, just allowing for that stagnant air to maybe allow for a little bit of lower visibility with some fog developing in Flemington and the haze, but that'll be gone before you know it. There's the heat index, 702. It feels like 93 degrees, and the sun has only been up for about an hour and a half or 2.5 hours. So, yes, it's a very, very warm start to the day. By 3 o'clock this afternoon, feels like 102, feels like 103 in Trenton, 104 in Camden. And another round of hot weather sticks around for this evening. Feels like it's around 100 into tonight. Tomorrow afternoon, 104 potentially. So it's another hot day tomorrow. We finally see the heat break by Thursday and Friday, and that comes with some afternoon thunderstorms as soon as Wednesday, and they last each and every day through Thursday and Friday. The futurecast showing those storms as well as that 103-degree heat later on this afternoon. So I think we're dry today. It's just very humid and sticky. Tomorrow afternoon, that's when that heat dome begins to break down and allows for the development of some of these thunderstorms coming through southern New Jersey and then northern New Jersey. You see throughout the end of the day tomorrow into the evening rush. That lasts throughout the day on Thursday with some extra clouds. And then you can breathe. We'll be in the 60s by then. So the front doing its job, clearing out some of that humidity and definitely some of the heat, breaking the heat wave and starting off the end of the week on a much cooler note. After another day tomorrow, day 5 of the heat wave tomorrow, we start to cool things down for Thursday and Friday, back in the 70s with some thunderstorms. We'll tell you more about the weekend's weather, let you know if it's sunny again coming up, Ken, with another check of your
Love it.
forecast in just a bit.
Thank you very much. I have the 14 extra people that I found down by the Home Depot just standing there, and I paid them money. So they're upstairs waiting with giant fans that are feathered for me. I just, it's a good way. You spend money on electric fans. I say go natural. Get humans to do it.
Natural.
You know, it works and it saves electricity. Just saying. All right. I need help, don't I? Thank you very much, Mike. We'll check back with you in a little bit. We do have a little bit of traffic, not much to talk about. This is actually, we'll start with a pretty shot right now, the Garden State Parkway. You're looking at mile marker 148.5 north of exit 147. So this area this is in the vicinity of East Orange. You could take a look at the traffic as it makes its way on the right side there. That goes toward Newark Airport. You see the upper part there. There's the left part of the upper part. Does that make sense? So right in the very middle, that little cluster of cars, that's going to Newark Airport. You can see it's just building a little bit, but it's really not as bad as it was yesterday. Yesterday, we saw a lot of traffic going into the airport. Other roadways to look at right now, we have a crash on the Garden State Parkway just a little south of that point. It's northbound south of exit 40, so it's about 8 miles south of what you just looked at. This is by Route 8222. It's a merge in Union Township, 3 right lanes blocked. So that's a big crash. And we have delays on Route 4 eastbound from west of Jones Road in Englewood to east of the Jersey Turnpike, GWB exit in Fort Lee. All lanes are open, but very heavy. Speaking of which, take a look at the 8095 approach right now to the GWB, very heavy. So that would account for that residual delay that you have over onto Route 4. This is what you have now, upper level on the right, lower on the left, and that is extraordinarily heavy for this time of the day. You're talking about 45 minutes at least getting into Manhattan that way. The Lincoln, not so bad right now. It's only about 30, but I'm sure things will change because of this. And the Holland is only about 25 minutes right now. And we should just give Pam a heads up. Never mind. I thought we had no phones, and we do have phones. Sorry, folks. We do it live on the air here. That's the way it works. Sorry, Pam. Thank you. It is 7:06, and President Trump announced yesterday that Israel and Iran have agreed on a complete and total ceasefire. That's what the president posted on Truth Social, what you see on the screen there. It's a move that he said would end a more than week-long conflict between the two countries. Under the plan, Iran stopped fighting as of midnight. Israel must stop fighting, I should say, by noon today. And the whole conflict, as per the president, between Israel and Iran, which everyone said was the beginning of World War III, not so much. The whole conflict officially ends as of midnight tonight. The president says, I don't want to see anything, not even a rock thrown, as of midnight tonight. It's done. End. The conflict between Israel and Iran began June 13th, with Israel launching airstrikes against Iranian nuclear and military targets after word that they were right at the edge in Iran of forming nuclear bombs based on nuclear bomb-making level uranium that they had perfected. The strikes, which killed several top Iranian military officials, prompted Iranian counterattacks on Israel. At least 950 people have been killed and 3,450 wounded in Israel's strikes on Iran. And Iran's attacks on Israel resulted in 24 people being killed. At least, actually, there's a possibility of 2 more being killed as of last night, right before the ceasefire at midnight last night. 7:07 tragedy Sunday as a veteran Trenton police officer died after his vehicle crashed off of I-295. The New Jersey State Police say 50-year-old Trenton resident Timothy Long, you see on your screen, was off duty at the time of the crash. Long was a police officer in Trenton for a quarter of a century. He served as a union official. He served in the department's honor guard and as County Police Academy instructor. Very honorable man. It appears that he may have lost control of his car, ran off the roadway and struck a traffic sign and a tree. Then the vehicle caught fire. The official cause is under investigation. A Hackettstown woman must face animal cruelty and animal fighting charges after she attended, keyword there, attended a cockfight in Raritan Township 2 years ago. That according to a New Jersey State Appellate Court. See, her name is Diana Abreu. She appealed a ruling by Hunterdon County Superior Court Judge Christopher Geringer refusing to dismiss the charges against her. Abreu says, hey, I was standing there. What do you want from me? New Jersey, though, has a law that says if you are just present and witness animal cruelty and don't do anything of it, you can be considered guilty of a third-degree crime. And the appeal courts, upheld the lower court, so she is, by the court's ruling, considered guilty. 7:08. You love Princeton, the Ivy League. Princeton is the 10th most difficult college in the nation to get into. That according to 24/7 Wall Street, based on the National Center for Education statistics. The nation's top 50 most difficult colleges for admission were listed. Princeton, the only from the Garden State. Only 5.7% of all people who apply make it into the Ivy League school in New Jersey. A serious crash last Friday left a Roseland police officer injured. That officer is recovering this morning, but he's in very serious condition. The crash happened near Livingston Avenue and Becker Farm Road. Officer Mark Miller needed surgery, but is said to be doing okay. That's the vehicle after the crash. In spite of dealing with serious injuries, he is unbelievable. Luckily, there were some first responders who happened to be in the area and got there immediately, which many are saying is why that officer is alive today. If you look at that vehicle, if somebody didn't get to him right away, there's a chance he may not have made it. So fortunately, like I said, very serious condition, but it looks like he's going to pull through. Not exactly clear yet what caused the crash, but they're looking into it. 7:09, 2 Burlington City men face charges after a June 9th shootout on Bordentown Road. 38-year-old Sean Causey and 32-year-old Jamar White are charged with aggravated assault and weapons offenses after firing multiple rounds, grazing White's arm. Bullets hit a home and a car, endangering a 2-year-old child. White has been jailed while Causey awaits extradition from North Carolina. 2 teens face charges in the June 14th shooting death of 20-year-old Rashad Rett in Millville, New Jersey. A 16-year-old is charged with conspiracy to commit murder and unlawful handgun possession, while 19-year-old James Henry faces weapons charges. The incident occurred on Maurice Street. The investigation continues. Authorities urge anyone with info to contact the Cumberland County Prosecutor's Office. A South Florida driver, Iver Espinosa Rodriguez, faces attempted murder charges after shooting another trucker during a road rage incident on the New Jersey Turnpike. It happened Friday. The 32-year-old allegedly critically wounded a box truck driver in Edison. State police tracked him to Virginia, where he was arrested. Rodriguez also faces firearm and fraud charges and awaits extradition back to New Jersey. A convicted sex offender, 36-year-old Quishine Tolbert from Bridgeton, was arrested Sunday for allegedly committing a lewd act in Hamilton in a Hamilton Mall parking lot. Tolbert, a Tier 2 moderate risk offender, charged now with 4th-degree lewdness involving a child under 13. He was caught filming a woman while in his black Chevrolet Impala. Tolbert faces up to 18 months in prison if convicted. 7-Eleven, a 66-year-old Union City man, Francisco Ruiz, faces serious charges after allegedly sexually assaulting a 10-year-old girl at an apartment in Hudson County last month. Arrested Friday by the U.S. Marshal Service, Ruiz is charged with sexual assault, endangering a child's welfare, terroristic threats, and criminal restraint. Prosecutors say he threatened the child to keep silent. He's detained at Hudson County Correctional Facility awaiting his court appearance. 6 people from D.C. and Maryland face charges for a burglary ring targeting New Jersey consignment shops, among others, stealing designer handbags and nighttime break-ins with sledgehammers. The group, including Marco Honesty, hit multiple stores in 2024. Yeah, the guy's name is Honesty. 3 were detained in Newark federal court. They face up to 5 years for conspiring to transport stolen goods. The estates of David, Michelle, and Brooke Dyerman, killed in a Tesla Model S crash on the Garden State Parkway last September, have filed a wrongful death lawsuit in Camden Federal Court. The suit claims the car's autopilot and full self-driving features, cited as defectively designed, caused the fatal crash in Woodbridge. The family is seeking unspecified damages from Tesla. 7-12, Rite Aid is closing 20 more New Jersey stores as part of its second Chapter 11 bankruptcy, adding to over 1,100 layoffs statewide. The pharmacy chain, struggling with debt and opioid lawsuits, is selling assets to rivals like CVS and Walgreens. Customers are urged to transfer prescriptions as the closures continue. A swimmer hospitalized Saturday after being stabbed in the leg by, get this, a needlefish. That right there that you just saw a second ago, that is a needlefish. Who knew? They thought it was a shark, but nope, that's what it was. He was swimming off of Long Beach Island at the time. You could see where it got its name because it looks like a needle. That right there is what bit the guy in the leg. The incident occurred near 9th Street and Barnegat Light as the man was sustaining a minor injury by that fish. Initially mistaken for the shark bite, authorities confirmed it was a needlefish known for jumping out of the water. He was treated at Southern Ocean Medical Center. Should be okay, but not nice to go into the water and get that, especially on a hot day like today, right? 7-13, when children spend too many hours on devices, it negatively impacts their mental health. Shocker, right? That's what a new study is confirming. 4,000 children were tracked starting at the age of 9 to 10 years old. By the time they made it to 13 to 14 years old, those who spent excessive time on cell phones and social media had twice the likelihood of developing mental health issues like depression compared to those who spent less time on devices. The Journal of the American Medical Association reports half of all teens are becoming addicted to their phones. Girls are at a higher risk to social media. Boys are at a higher risk to getting addicted to video games. Doctors say children develop better when they spend quality time, guess where? With their friends outside. Put the phones down. You're too young. Parents are urged to set a limited amount of screen time for young children. It is 76 degrees at 7:14. When we come back, a ceasefire has been called for between Iran and Israel. We'll speak with a military expert who will explain what's next. The heat wave continues. Sunny again today with near record-breaking highs around 100. Meteorologist Mike Favetta returns with a full Garden State forecast, and we'll take your calls, 888-658-0234. You're watching ONNJ New Jersey Mornings. Don't go away. 7:15. Welcome back to ONNJ Mornings for your Tuesday. I'm Ken Rosato, and we'll take your calls at 888-658-0234, 888-658-0234. The heat wave continues. Sunny again today, near record-breaking highs around 100. Straight to meteorologist Mike Favetta with the Garden State forecast. Good morning, Mike.
Hey, Ken, there's a lot of triple-digit heat numbers behind me, so it's going to stay hot today. Humid, just about as humid than yesterday, but more hotter this afternoon with that heat ringing in triple-digit numbers in Toms River, even back over toward Freehold and Roosevelt. These numbers are quite unusual for this time of year. We shouldn't see this type of heat for at least another month. So not only are we setting temperature records, we will likely see these records fall in many locations across New Jersey, like in Newark, where the old record of 97 degrees going to be shattered later on today. There's our heat dome, and the edge of it showing some of these showers and storms that are working their way to the north, that high pressure protecting us from any of those showers and storms today, and just allowing for the hot weather to prevail. So the air quality alert in effect today once more. The UV index is back up at a 10 because it's the angle of the sun and the intensity of the sun, which helps to lower the air quality as the ozone develops in the atmosphere due to a lot of that strong UV. With all of the clear sky today and the high humidity, we'll see these heat dew points remain right through this afternoon with temperatures well up into the 70s. Anytime you get up in near 75, 80 degrees, that's downright rainforest levels of humidity. So we feel tropical now, get worse by this afternoon, but we finally see a break. Come Thursday, that's when the front slides through and starts to push out a lot of that humidity, helping to cool things down, dry things out a little bit, and even that shade of yellowy green comes in, bringing us back down to drier on the humidity scale. So it'll look much better by the end of the week. Until that time, get ready to sweat. Another round of triple-digit actual air temperatures plus the heat index. Last night at 10 o'clock, doing some work in the studio office, took a look over at the weather computer. It still felt like 100 degrees at 10 p.m. last night in Newark. So that heat kind of holding into the overnights and then starting us off at an even warmer temperature this morning. Not only did we break temperature records yesterday afternoon, we've also already broken the overnight maximum low temperature, meaning it never gets below 81 or 82 degrees at night. And yes, that is a record as well. 104 is your heat index, your feels like temperature for tomorrow afternoon in Newark, 104 in Trenton, and 104 in Camden. Feels very, very hot throughout Thursday until we see those storms come in and start to cool things down. We'll actually be feeling quite comfortable as soon as Thursday and Friday. So it's a quick cool down into the weekend, but I think some clouds might linger into Saturday and Sunday. That's what you see here on the long range futurecast. Likely some extra clouds and showers on Saturday. Sunday looks a little bit better with some more sunshine developing. And then by Monday and Tuesday of next week, a quieter weather pattern. So this weekend, not ideal. There'll likely be some extra clouds around, maybe some showers and storms there on Saturday, but Sunday should be a little bit better with highs up around 89 degrees. And that, Ken, is average for a change. So looking forward to some slightly cooler weather as well. I think we're just over the hump of this heat wave. Yesterday was day 3, today is day 4, and then we'll wrap up with day 5 coming up.
I never thought I'd be so excited looking forward to average. But but yes, at this moment in my life, looking forward to average. I have a little 2 little nephews and a little niece down in Florida, and I remember when my now the eldest boy was little, and it was a very, very hot heat wave in Florida. Yes, Florida gets heat waves where it's in the upper 90s like this as opposed
Yeah.
to just the upper 80s. And I remember his name is Ben. I remember Ben saying, "Why don't they just make big air conditioners for outside?" And I thought that was so cute. I was like, and
Well,
then
they
where would
do.
we
The
pump the hot
swamp
air?
coolers, the evaporative coolers you see, they're like the size of refrigerators, and you can see them at
Yeah.
usually football games, college football games, sometimes pro, athletic sporting events. And you stand in front of them, and you feel a little bit cooler. I mean, it's not like an actual air conditioner. It uses the effect of the evaporative cooling from just running water over a fan. But yeah, it helps. So I think Ben is onto something. I think we should get him a
See,
swamp
you
cooler.
and Ben got to get together, make $1 trillion. That'll make this happen. All right, Mike. Thank you. We'll check back with you, buddy. We do have some problems on the area roadways. Take a look at this. This is definition of ugly right now. This is the Garden State Parkway. What we have now is a crash on the Garden State northbound south of exit 140, which is Route 22, Union Township, with 3 of the 4 lanes blocked. And that is causing, I don't mean to laugh, it's like, wow, that's what that's causing. So you're talking about 4 miles of backups, because what you're looking at is by exit 136, this is 4 exits away. And it's causing traffic all the way to that point. So an absolute mess if you're headed to the Garden State Parkway. Again, that's in the area of Union Township. We have a crash on the Turnpike Outer Roadway, northbound, north of interchange 8A. All lanes are open. The vehicle's on the right shoulder, but the damage is done, as I say. 8095 approach right now, very heavy as you make your way to the GWB upper and lower levels. The upper level on the right, lower level on the left. And this is what we have 45 minutes into Manhattan right now. We have better news at the Lincoln and the Holland tunnels, 30 at the Lincoln, 25 at the Holland. It's 7:21 right now. We turn our attention to the conflict between Israel and Iran, a situation that has drawn the United States into a volatile era in the Middle East. Yesterday, Iran launched a missile attack on the U.S. military's Al Udeid air base in Qatar, retaliating for U.S. airstrikes on Iranian nuclear sites. The U.S. was able to shoot down every missile except for one, which they detoured off. And President Trump now announced a ceasefire between Israel and Iran, with Iran ceasing all aggressions as of midnight, Israel having to do the same by noon today, although the president now announces he's upset with both because he thinks both are violating it. Let's get more detail now. We have Mark Zinno joining us, Army Reserve Colonel, combat veteran, and host of the popular Hazard Ground podcast, where service members share their stories of combat, survival, and beyond. Mark, thanks for joining us this morning. We appreciate you.
Ken, thank you for having me. Great to be here with you.
Yes, thank you. And so you've been busy, I'm sure, the last few days. Iran's missile attack on Al Udeid Air Base, the largest U.S. military installation in the Middle East, was intercepted, no reported casualties. But from your military professional perspective, what did that attack signal about Iran's capabilities and intentions? Were they less than we thought, more than we thought? And how should the U.S. interpret the move, especially in light of the ceasefire now that the president declared?
Yeah, I think, with what Iran responded with, it was as proportionate as they could get without escalation. And that was important. I think when you kind of look at the lay of the land here, in the initial strikes that the United States did, the risk of return fire here from Iran was fairly low. They don't have the capability needed to come and attack American soil. So all they can do is attack American bases in the Middle East. And I think the United States expected that. And from what we're reading, what we're seeing, and again, I don't have any extra inside info, even though I still am a service member. And again, remember, these views do not reflect the Department of Defense or the United States Army. But again, this was a response that Iran needed to do to sort of say, hey, we're not going to let you attack us and do nothing. But it had no real merit to it. And I think the United States was prepared for that. Obviously, there are still tens of thousands of troops across the Middle East that need to be concerned, and they need to be cautious and on alert for what's going on here. But Iran is not going to get toe to toe with the United States in any version of combat. They lose that battle badly. So this was very predictable from that standpoint. And the idea that Iran all of a sudden wants a ceasefire makes a ton of sense. You have to remember the one thing about Iran right now: the Ayatollah wants to stay in power. He's not going to stay in power by, again, standing toe to toe with the United States and getting into a long, protracted battle of combat, because he loses that pretty quickly, actually. It won't be long and protracted. It'll be the exact opposite of it. So the idea of the Ayatollah wanting to stay in power makes a ton of sense for them to say, hey, we'll come to the table and negotiate, and then continue their little activities on the side. And by little activities, I mean continue small terrorist plots across the country, across the world, and aimed at the United States in ways that they can attack without ever being directly tied back to the attack.
Do you think there was a specific point that the Ayatollah said, oh, crap? If you think about it, I mean, look, you had Iran bombing, you had the individual military leaders taken out very strategically, and Iran does not, I mean, Israel doesn't want to say how they were taken out, but apparently there was some plot that they worked on for a long time, and they got all of the top generals one by one, just knocked them all out. Then you had the nuclear physicists. Apparently, of the 16 or so that they had, we got like 12 of them. They're all gone. And then some of the senior advisors to the Ayatollah, one by one by one, bye-bye. Do you think any of that did it? Or do you think finally when the bunker busters came in, the mop, and said bye-bye to the side of a mountain, do you think the Ayatollah woke up and said, well, maybe if I just play nice, I can get another year or two before I see the versions?
Well, I think the Ayatollah wasn't really expecting the United States to actively get involved. Remember, I mean, that's really the tipping point here. For as much as the United States over the past let's call it 35, 40 years, has been openly supportive of Israel in their fight to keep peace in the Middle East. The United States has rarely gotten involved with military action or physically gotten involved in any sort of military action over that span. So this was a big step for the United States to get involved and for President Trump to take in making this attack, this calculated attack on Iran. And I don't think the Ayatollah was actually prepared for it to happen because, again, he's aware of how limited his military is, particularly when it comes to standing up against the United States. It's very limited to even defeat Israel. Israel could have ended this a lot quicker if they really wanted to, based off of their military power and military structure. They just haven't done it yet because they're trying to do things diplomatically as best they can. So I think that was the tipping point for the powers that be in Iran, was that the United States got involved and sent a clear message: you better back off, or there'll be bigger consequences coming forward from here. And I think they got that message loud and clear.
I'm waiting to see if there are going to be any protesters wearing keffiyehs at Columbia University decrying poor Iran and the poor people of Iran. Meanwhile, this was a pinprick operation going after the nuclear facilities. No civilians were targeted. No civilian buildings were hurt. I mean, this was as pinpoint surgical as you could get. And I think it serves as a reminder to United States citizens that their money is well spent in our military.
Yeah, it's interesting. If you spend a lot of time on social media, which you probably shouldn't do, and start surfing through some of the reactions that are out there, it just continues to remind me of somebody who has spent several years in the Middle East and lived my life there and avoided, managed to keep myself alive and my soldiers alive. That there's a lot of people with a vantage point of not really understanding what they're talking about or what they're going through, and really the complexities of the Middle East. And the people who want to go out and protest, that's fine. That's their right. That's okay. They just don't really have the platform to understand exactly what they're talking about. And you have to understand the dynamics of the Middle East and kind of the way of life there. As sad as it may sound, Ken, violence is a way of life in the Middle East and has been for the last 2,000 years. It's how they settle disputes. It's how things are done. It's how they communicate. It's how they are able to leverage their either power situation or gain whatever they want out of it. We value life in the West. They value death, or at least using proxies to be able to handle that for them. But this is a way of life in the Middle East, and it is the way that they get things done, is to kill one another. And that has been, the story for the better part of our lives, of our adult lives. So again, I look at everybody who wants to sit there and have some sort of opinion on this, which is fine, but you haven't lived in the Middle East and you haven't understood what life is like there, and you don't understand the way these different cultures all clash with one another. And I think that's a paramount point here for people who want to protest. You can look at things objectively, but remember, when violence and war is a better part of your daily culture, you're putting things out of context that need to be put in the proper context.
Mark, I recall back, you're too young to remember the Phil Donahue show. I'm 58, so this is that tells you when I was a kid. But you remember Donahue? He was married to Marlo Thomas. All right, so I remember he had on a Palestinian woman and an Israeli woman. This is back then, so this is in the 80s, I guess. And I remember the Palestinian woman looking at the Israeli woman. It was an Israeli woman who had moved to the U.S. and said, "How many children do you have?" And the Israeli woman said, I have a daughter and I treasure her. And the Palestinian woman said, and this is not to paint a picture of all Palestinians. This is this particular woman. She said, "You're ridiculous. I have 13 kids and I expect almost every one of them will be martyred. That's why I have 13 kids, for the greater glory of Allah." And I thought to myself, there's right there. There's the difference in belief. She's producing children not out of love, but as military weapons, and the other is producing a child as a gift from God. And I thought, wow, until there is some meeting of the minds between those two sides, this is going to just continue and continue and continue. And, this is why, by the way, speaking specifically of the Palestinians, why no other country around, everybody protesting here thinks, oh, the Palestinians are just more Muslims. No Muslim country wants the Palestinians. They've had issues in Lebanon, in Syria, in the Saudi Arabia. They don't want to deal with the Palestinian issue. That's a whole other show we can do. But these very ignorant protesters, I think, don't get it. They don't know history. They've been brainwashed and propagandized. But again, we'll get back to that another time. On your Hazard Ground podcast, you've spoken with service members. And by the way, I'm remiss for not saying thank you, sir, for your service. Everyone in my family was also in the military. I'm the wuss who was not. And I thank you for what you do continually. In high stakes combat zones, you spent the stressful times there with your men. What might U.S. troops stationed in the Middle East, like those at Al Udeid, be feeling or preparing for right now, given the threat that Iran could still pose?
Well, you have to be vigilant, 100%. I mean, it sometimes can be hard to put your head on the pillow at night, knowing that that may be a spot where a rocket attack or a mortar attack may happen, and that's really what the biggest threat that they're going to face on a day-to-day basis is that Iran may launch more rockets at those bases, and there's not really any rhyme or reason or understanding of when they're going to come, why they're going to come, and how they're going to come. The most calculated thing you can do from a defensive posture, see where they land, try to project where they came from, and see how close they are to walking the artillery back into the target that they want to hit, depending on what they want to hit on the base. Or do you figure out, is it just random? Is it just luck? Or what are they looking for? So that's the only thing they're going to face. There is next to zero chance, in my experience, that you're going to get Iranian soldiers walking up to the gate of any of these military bases and going, excuse me, is anybody home? We're coming in if you're not paying attention. That's not a scenario that Iran wants to do. Furthermore, again, Iran doesn't want to violate the sovereignty of another nation where these air bases are standing, because now you're picking two fights, one with the United States and one with the country that the base is in. So it's the only real fear and danger that they have is that. Now, again, the other danger becomes in small terrorist cells. Somebody wearing a suicide vest or using a vehicle-borne IED to be able to go create havoc and destruction and death on the base somehow and infiltrating the base that way. That's the other thing that they have to worry about, is if somebody can somehow breach inside the compound and create destruction that way. So I think those are the two biggest things that they'll have to worry about. But, again, the vigilance should never really be turned off. And that's something that commanders and leadership stress all the time, that you still are in a very hostile area, even though you're not in a combat zone per se. There's still a lot of the enemy around, and you have to be ever vigilant and make sure that you are keeping one eye open at all times and looking out for the bad guys.
God bless our tens of thousands of troops in the Middle East right now. May they all be protected. Thank you again for all you do and continue to do, Colonel. And if you would, please tell us how we could listen to and watch your Hazard Ground podcast. What's a website, and what other platforms are you on?
Hazardground.com is the website. All the episodes are available there, as well as all your major podcast platforms. You can get them anywhere: Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play. They're all available there as well.
We're lucky to have you in this country. Mark Zinno, thank you for joining us this morning. Don't be a stranger. We'd love to have you on again if you don't mind. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Have a great day, sir. Thank you. 7:33 right now, and when we come back, New Jersey Globe editor David Wildstein will have the latest on New Jersey's political scene with the Inside Edge, and the phone lines are open, taking your calls at 888-658-0234. The heat wave continues. Sunny again today, near record-breaking highs around 100 degrees. The full Garden State forecast with meteorologist Mike Favetta in just a moment. You're watching ONNJ Mornings. We're seen daily at ONNJ.com, Roku, Fire TV, news on Samsung TV Plus, Apple TV, YouTube, Facebook, and X, and now streamed live on Rumble and Twitch at twitch.tv/OnNewJersey. We'll be right back. Good morning to you. 75 degrees right now, 7:34. And when I say 75, I'm in rural suburbia. So the urban centers are a lot hotter. In fact, in Trenton, it's 80 and it's 82 degrees in Newark already at this early hour. I'm Ken Rosato, Tuesday, June 24th, 2025. Welcome back to ONNJ Mornings. The heat wave continues. Sunny again today with near record-breaking highs around 100. Meteorologist Mike Favetta with the detailed Garden State forecast. Good morning, Mike. Mike, something tells me that if I were to shake the Colonel's hand, that he would crush every wimpy little bone in my hand. He's a dude. Is he a dude or what? Man,
he's one of my new favorite guests. One of my new
Yeah,
favorite guests.
he's
Hope he becomes a regular. That was an excellent, excellent interview. It makes you feel good, right? I ran away to make
yep.
a quick espresso again this morning because I don't know. It's just one of those days you can't form words correctly. And I'm listening to the interview and I'm like, I feel better. I feel better
Yep.
having him on and giving his information, and it makes you have that cup of confidence early this morning with the caffeine. So this
I'm
morning,
with you.
as you step outside, Ken, I got to tell you, your weather information in Newark, I think it's maybe like an hour old because I just checked the 5-minute observation, the weather updates every 5 minutes from Newark
Mhm.
Airport. It reports to the National Climate Data Centers. It's already 90 degrees, 90 degrees in
I will
Newark. And the
refresh.
sun has just been up only an hour and 40 minutes. So, yeah, it's a
Yikes.
really, really hot morning. With the heat index feeling like it's in the mid and upper 90s, this is the record heat today. That is a stepping stone to bring the day 4 of heat wave across New Jersey once more. So record heat extends all the way down to Atlantic City and Cape May today. You are also under excessive heat warnings as opposed to the heat advisory from yesterday. Today marks day 4 of the Newark heat wave, and with storms in the forecast tomorrow, we finally see the heat break after day 5 of potential record heat, but we get some relief on the way by Thursday with that cooler weather that comes in through the end of the week. And that will feel very refreshing with some cooling showers. A look at the visible satellite showing just a few passing clouds offshore. Don't even see that valley fog this morning. That's how clear it is. Heat advisory only for areas along the immediate shoreline there, everywhere else. The excessive heat warning, but it's the northeastern section of the state that has poor air quality, and that is the air quality alert that remains in effect through this afternoon. So South Jersey's forecast, you're going to be sweating today. Even on the beach, to have a 94-degree afternoon high on the beach in Atlantic City, very unusual, even in the worst heat of the summer. Ocean City 94, Avalon 93, and just roasting right there in Cape May along Washington Street. Back over toward Hamilton, Millville, and Glassboro, triple-digit heat for you. The further inland you head, closer to the city centers, the urban centers like Philly, you will have that big time heat. So today's record of 97 degrees set back in 1966 is going to be shattered probably by 10:30, 11 a.m. That's how long this heat has lasted. It's going to come in very early, and we'll likely see this number go down by at least 4, maybe 5 degrees by the end of this day, get to 102 or 103. This afternoon as a record high. So every single hour, we'll just be watching that temperature rise. Great way to stay cool is in the water. Water temperature is in the mid 60s to low 70s from Cape May and Sandy Hook, and your high tide happening right around now in the next few minutes. There is sunny and hot weather at the beach, but excellent surf with only 2-foot wave heights. Safe to be in the water. Obviously, it's always important to swim in the lifeguarded zones, but with the water temperatures warming up quickly, it will feel much more pleasant throughout this afternoon. So the futurecast keeps the clear sky around today. No storms this afternoon. The high pressure still driving in a lot of that heat and keeping the storms away. Now by tomorrow, as the stationary front tries to slide on through, that's where the air mass begins to change, allows more of the lifting mechanism in the atmosphere to take over, and that allows for the rain to form with some thunderstorms tomorrow late in the afternoon. That lasts through Thursday morning as well as Friday morning. Our next weather system slides in for Friday afternoon, and that cools things down a little bit for the upcoming weekend. We'll start to see that cooler feel as soon as Thursday morning with the humidity dropping as well. Look at the high on Thursday, only 79. We take a big drop in temperatures after coming off of today's heat of 102. Just feels weird to say that. 96 by Wednesday tomorrow, and then back in the 70s for Thursday. I think Friday and Saturday sees a chance of showers, but it's not going to be a total washout. There will be some patchy breaks of sun, and then Sunday sees a little bit of a warming trend with some breaks in the clouds back to 88 on Monday. The shore points have very warm weather as well, with today being in the mid 90s, tomorrow low 90s, and then we see the heat break for the shore as well on Thursday and Friday with temperatures cooling down into the 70s. That'll feel great at the beaches. Saturday and Sunday, pleasant. I'd say a mix of clouds and sun this weekend with temperatures in the 80s. So average heat for this upcoming weekend, not stifling heat and humidity. Looks very nice if you had planned to have those outdoor plans. Better than the alternative, let's put it that way, for this weekend.
Well, I'm headed to Florida this weekend where it's going to be way cooler than here. I love it. Yesterday it was 10 degrees warmer or 8 degrees warmer in New Jersey
Yeah.
than South Florida.
Mhm.
And although the end of the week, I think that the temperatures in both places are going to be the same. But I just get a
Yes.
kick out of the fact that, everyone's like, it's so hot in Florida. How do you go there in the summer? It's so hot. That's my
And
best.
Ken,
That's
it
actually
was
more
that
Staten Island.
impression. That was your impression yesterday that got over 1,000 views in just a few hours on the Instagram page of why New Jersey is hotter than Florida. They're shared on social. So thank you for the
See,
expert's
I aim to please.
impression.
I aim to please. You got to do that. That was Staten Island, though. That's just to protect New Jersey people. That was Staten Island. I'm saying it and I'm sticking with it. All right. Thank you very much, Mike. I appreciate you. We'll check back. It is really sticky hot. I mean, my husband said last night, that's another thing I should have brought up while Mike was up. My husband said last night, he said, what is wrong? Why is the house temperature 76 or 77? We have the AC on. And I had to remind him, as I've been reminded by my air conditioning people, air conditioning only lowers your house temperature by 15 to 25 degrees. That's it. That's when it's working perfectly. 15 for smaller units, 25 degrees. If you have like a monster unit, that's the best it can do. So if it's 100 degrees out, you're lucky. If you get down to 75, you got a great unit. So the fact that we were 75 in this house meant that we had a great unit. So be very lucky. Anything below 80, you should be considered or consider yourself fortunate. It is 7:41 right now. Let's take a look at what we have in terms of traffic. These people are not fortunate. This is a mess. This is mile marker 136.8 south of exit 136. This is in the East Orange area. And these people are driving head on into a multi-lane closure. Apparently, they're all headed northbound. And so at exit 140, you have in Union Township, you had 3 lanes that were closed with a crash and an overturned vehicle. Now, we're just getting reports. They have just moved everything off to the side. But the damage is done. As you can see, that is bumper to bumper. And as Pam, our director, and I were talking about, when your engine isn't going full speed, your air conditioning barely works. It kind of blows room temperature air. So those people are stuck, headed northbound. You can see the east is to the right. So they're headed northbound. And they're just caught facing that sun and that blazing heat. Nothing they can do, and they're going to be stuck in that for about 20 minutes before they get through what was the accident scene. So good luck to them. It's not pleasant. We have a crash also on the Jersey Turnpike Outer Roadway northbound, north of Interchange 8A in South Brunswick. All lanes are open, but the vehicles are on the right shoulder. Lots of rubbernecking. 8095 approach to the GWB, also very heavy right now. Take a look. We have both the upper and lower levels very slow. The lower on the left, upper on the right, and we're told it's about 45 minutes in, 35 at the Lincoln and 30 at the Holland. 7:43, time now for politics from Trenton, explained like nobody else can do it. Here's New Jersey Globe editor David Wildstein with the Inside Edge.
Morning, everybody. It's Tuesday, June 24th. Welcome to the Inside Edge. The elimination of county lines led to close state assembly primaries in about a quarter of the state's legislative districts. That is incredibly unusual. Nearly all of these occurred in districts where the primary is essentially the election because the other party really isn't all that competitive in November. One exception's in the second district. This is a Republican leaning district with 2 Republican incumbents. But in Atlantic County, Joanne Familaro defeated Bruce Weeks by just 36 votes. In Burlington County 7th, Valvier Singh, relatively new assemblyman, outpolled the mayor of Bordentown, Eric Holloway, by 706 votes. Joe Danielson, incumbent, won his Democratic primary by 463 votes against Loretta Rivers. That's the 17th. It's Middlesex and Franklin and Somerset County. Big upset was in the 20th. Insurgent Ed Rodriguez beat the organization-backed Sergio Granados by a mere 98 votes. In the 31st district, one incumbent beat another incumbent narrowly. William Sampson outpolled Barbara McCann Stamato by 228 votes. In the other Hudson district, the other Jersey City district, the 32nd, Ravi Bala, unseated incumbent, Jessica Ramirez by 233 votes. In the 35th, that's the Patterson-based district, the new assemblyman, Abdelaziz, outpolled his running mate, Orlando Cruz, by 263. The 34th in Essex, it wasn't exactly a nail biter, but an 1,134 vote win for an incumbent comes with some warning signs. In the 37th, incumbent Shama Hader and Ellen Park won, fairly comfortably in a 6-candidate race. But when the votes of one candidate from each of the two slates are added together, the incumbents got less, and that is also a warning sign. And in the 39th, this one held by Republicans, the Democratic nomination was won by Donna Abeen, the organization candidate. She beat David Zhang by 137 votes, and Zhang is asking for a recount. That'll undoubtedly be opposed by Assistant Attorney General Susan Scott. She'll probably argue that the count was good the first time. Nothing to see here. It's not the worst thing to double check the counting process once in a while. Scott will say that that's why they have an audit, but it's not bad to audit the audit also, and it's not like the Attorney General's office is infallible. The bottom line is that we're looking at a new age for the state assembly. Office block ballots will lead to better challengers in safe general election districts, maybe with more money. This means incumbents will need to raise more. They'll need to knock on more doors. They'll need to run better campaigns. They'll need to do it on their own and not rely upon the generosity of others. And they'll need to take challengers seriously. It also means that running mates might become even more dysfunctional than they are now. And Trenton could easily become Lord of the Flies. That's everything for today. Everybody, thanks for listening. I'll be back tomorrow morning.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. It is 7:47 and the heat wave continues. 76 degrees in suburbia and a lot hotter as you get closer to the urban centers. Sunny again today with near record breaking highs, about 100 degrees. Meteorologist Mike Favetta returns with your full Garden State forecast, and we'll take your calls at 888-658-0234. This is On New Jersey Mornings. Don't go away. We have a little different format right now. Welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato, 748. We're taking your calls at 888-658-0234. The heat wave continues. Sunny again today with near record-breaking highs around 100 degrees. And Pam, you could play the video if you have it of the Formula Drift event in Englishtown, because this will take us into Mike. The powerful storm that ripped through New Jersey on Thursday caused havoc at the Formula Drift event in Englishtown. Drifter Jeff Jones found his Z car crushed by a fallen oak tree with a shattered windshield and collapsed roof. Thankfully, no one was hurt, but Jones is out of this weekend's event. Straight line winds over 60 miles an hour were to blame, not a tornado. A lot of people confuse the two. Jones shared the damage on Instagram, jokingly asking for a spare drift car. Time now for meteorologist Mike Favetta. We figured we'd lead into you with that, Mike, with the Garden State forecast and the difference between a straight line wind and a tornado. Very different, but people right away assume tornado when they see stuff like that.
And the winds can sometimes be higher with straight line winds versus a low grade tornado. It's all about, the term has kind of gotten a lot of traction recently, the rain bomb, where the rain just rushes out of the base of the cloud, and then when it hits the ground, spreads out in all directions. And if you're caught here, yes, you will get blown over by those very gusty winds. So you've seen a lot of the videos on social. That another proof that those straight line winds can cause lots of damage, especially with those older big trees. Each one of those leaves Those thousands of leaves on a tree act like a little sail to help catch the wind and tilt the tree over. On a day like today, you want to maybe find yourself not just under a tree, but maybe in the AC. With temperatures such as these, 102, your forecast high in Newark might get to 103. Any degree over 97 breaks the record, and we might do that in just a few hours. Later this morning, 99 in Jersey City, maybe a touch cooler along the waterfront, and in the upper 90s again, just flirting with 100 there in the hills of New Jersey. So it'll be hot today, whether you find yourself in the triple-digit heat on the green in Morristown or 101 in Wayne, right up Pompton Avenue. With temperatures today that will remain very hot, the air quality already poor, but it's the forecast air quality that's of concern, especially down toward the beaches and even as far south as Cape May. Anytime this number is at 150 or higher, that becomes pretty unhealthy. And we're unhealthy for sensitive groups statewide, even in the northern part of the state, right down the turnpike. But it's that stagnant air that's not moving anywhere that helps for the poor air quality to develop, as well as that ozone. So overall, the statewide average puts that unhealthy level in place. Speaking of average, like Ken says, we like when we're average in the temperature department. Look at how pleasant it will be over the coming 2 weeks. No heat waves predicted, especially with the calmer weather forecast and pretty average weather for late June. Temperatures should be in the upper 80s going forward. And even the precipitation outlook has slightly higher chances of rainfall, but not by much. So we'll take the cool down, especially after all the heat. I think we're going to get sticker shock when we get the power bills in the mail because that AC has been going 24/7. Like Ken said, it stays hot again tomorrow, 79 on Thursday. That's when we finally get a break from the heat and humidity. Friday into Saturday sees a little bit of a warm up, and then we're back in the low 80s, mid 80s by Sunday, with some extra clouds around. But I don't think it's a washout this weekend. Might have a few chances of rain, especially on Saturday, but overall it turns drier by the end of the weekend. Expect some rain by Thursday and Friday, on and off showers, temperatures in the upper 70s at the shore, but drying by Saturday and Sunday. So great beach weekend ahead, especially the second half of the weekend when the clear sky finally returns and you can enjoy some great weather after so much heat, Ken.
Oh man, oh man, unbelievable. It is certainly hot. When you walk out and you feel like you're walking through a wall of heat. That's bad.
Yes.
And that really
That's
is
true.
what it feels like. It's unreal. All right, thank you very much, Mike. We appreciate you. And we have a lot of issues on area roadways right now. In fact, Pam, if we could bring up that Garden State Parkway again if you happen to have it. This is still residual delays. We're looking at 4 miles going into an what was an accident scene that has been cleared with cars moved off to the shoulder. But this is the Garden State Parkway. Let me bring it up right now myself. We were dealing with something else a minute ago. So this is mile marker 136.8, exit 136. And that's because they're all heading northbound. Now you see they picked up their speed a little bit, thankfully. Just a minute ago, that was bumper to bumper. That's because at exit 140, they had a multi-vehicle accident closing 3 of the 4 lanes. That has been pushed off to the shoulder, so now people are moving. They've reopened those lanes, but it was ugly just 10 minutes ago. That wasn't even moving. Still heavy volume, but at least it's now moving. We have a crash on I-280 westbound at exit 13 Orange Street in Newark with the left lane of the 2 lanes closed. And the 8095 approach to the GWB right now, very, very heavy with 45-minute crossover time, upper and lower levels. We see the lower level on the left, upper level on the right. It looks more than 45 right now, but that's what the report is, 45 minutes. We're told 35 at the Lincoln right now, pretty heavy for this hour, and 30 at the Holland. It is 7:53. After their air assault on Iran began 12 days ago, people working for Israel security services called at least 20 senior Iranian officials on their cell phones. Imagine, hello, this is Israel calling Iran. And they told the generals, you're going to die unless you stop supporting the regime of Iran's Supreme Leader Khamenei and leave. At least one official was told he had 12 hours to get his wife and his kid and escape. And they told him, we know exactly where you are. We have the bomb. We're ready to literally land on your house. So get your wife and your kid, leave the regime, and get the hell out. That's what they did. So when you hear all the leftists saying, oh, Israel so indiscriminately bombs these people, it's so mean. No, they gave them 12 hours. Get out or die. So that's what happened. And apparently a number of the generals heeded the advice. There was a number of top Iranian generals, advisors, and nuclear experts who fled. Unfortunately for them, a number did not flee, and they are now under rubble. 7:54, New Jersey's 9 House Democrats are defying House Speaker Mike Johnson by displaying replica plaques outside their offices to honor law enforcement, including New Jersey's own Brian Sicknick, who died during January 6th. Despite a 2022 law that mandates the plaques display in the Capitol, Johnson has blocked it. The Democrats, joined by others, say they are ensuring the officers' heroism is recognized. Yes and no. This is the liberals never found law enforcement anything that they like to honor unless it's about January 6th. And Sicknick, remember, did not die as a direct result of January 6th. Sicknick had a heart issue and days after January 6th succumbed to a heart attack, which may or may not have been directly linked to January 6th. But the liberals are trying to play ass, we'll just say that. I was going to use a completed word, and are trying to make it sound like, look, we're supporting law enforcement. What about all the other law enforcement that get rocks thrown at them during the protests? They don't support those people. What about ICE agents? They're law enforcement. You don't see liberals supporting those people. But a guy who they claim died as a result of January 6th, which he did not. He did not die because he died. Look it up. Days after. Could have been a fight with his wife for all we know. God rest his soul. But they're trying to blame it on January 6th and those mean Republicans who supported Trump. Either way, the poor man is deceased. God rest his soul, like I said, and God bless his family. I mean no disrespect to Sicknick. But liberals never support law enforcement, never support religion, never support traditional American values or the flag. Just count on that. South Jersey Congressman Donald Norcross returned to Congress yesterday after a near-fatal gallbladder infection. Imagine that? Landed him in intensive care for 2 weeks. The 66-year-old had battled sepsis back in April. We did this story because I remember I had my gallbladder out, and I remember how much pain there was. He was driving back from Washington, and he got this intense pain. He pulled over and apparently passed out. Apparently his gallbladder, I believe, ruptured, and it caused an infection, and he was touch and go there for a while. Well, it gave him new perspective as Congress debates a GOP bill that could strip Medicaid from millions. Norcross is now back in D.C. after extensive rehab. He credits an emergency plane landing with saving his life. That's right. He was in a plane, not in a car, headed back from D.C. He vows to keep fighting for healthcare access. Well, we're glad you're feeling better. Unfortunately, he's a Democrat, but we're glad you're alive and healthy. That's the important thing. We want you alive to argue with you another day, sir. But we're just glad you're healed up. God bless you for that. 7:57, an online dating surge, or as online dating is surging in popularity, so do the scams that target the users. New Jersey Congressman Frank Pallone is looking to tackle the issue with the Romance Scam Prevention Act. It would require dating apps to notify users if they have interacted with a person who is a banned fraudster, helping protect vulnerable individuals from financial and emotional harm.
This bill ensures that when an online dating service bans a user for fraud, it notifies all the other users who have been in contact with that banned person on the service. And this will help to reduce the number of people who fall victim to identified fraudsters looking to extort money from dating app users.
This bipartisan effort aims to hold platforms accountable and create a safer online dating environment. Here in New Jersey, a last-minute decision to cancel a vote on a bill defining anti-Semitism in the Assembly sparked outrage Monday. The bill, meant to combat rising anti-Semitic incidents, drew supporters and opponents to Trenton, only to learn that there'd be no vote. Sponsors, including Assemblyman Gary Scher, expressed frustration over the lack of communication. Critics like Care New Jersey, that does anything but care, also wanted a vote to reject it. The issue remains unresolved as election season looms. 7:59, New Jersey lawmakers are pushing to shield state legislators' home addresses after a gunman killed Minnesota's House Speaker and critically wounded another lawmaker June 14th. Assemblyman Krista Phillips' proposal would extend Daniels' law, which protects judges and police, to lawmakers, safeguarding their families from targeted violence. The bill follows rising threats against public officials and aims at addressing logistical challenges raised by past familiar incidents. New Jersey Senate President Nick Scutari's bill would let public entities ditch printing legal notices in newspapers. People don't really read newspapers much anymore. They look at online stuff. Instead, you could see the stuff posted on government websites starting March 2026. Nice. Welcome to the 18th century, right? The move sparked by the Star Ledger's closure has drawn fire from the New Jersey Press Association, which says it reduces transparency. But people are just not looking at print anymore. A rival bill would include online news outlets for notices. So the bottom line is, do you throw out the baby with the bathwater? This says no notice is necessary. You get people who are like I'm sure our David Wildstein saying things like, okay, you have to post the notices online on the online newspapers like the New Jersey Globe, as opposed to doing away with it altogether. Anyway, there will be hearings for both, likely delayed until after November's elections. It is now 76 degrees, 8 o'clock. When we come back, we're having a heat wave, and you need to prepare in order to stay safe. We're going to talk with a doctor who has very important information you need to know about, and we'll take your calls at 888-658-0234. Sunny again today, highs near record-breaking 100 degrees. The full Garden State forecast in just a moment. You're watching On New Jersey Mornings. We'll be back in 30 seconds. Good morning to you. It's 8:01, Tuesday, June 24th, 2025. Welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato. 888-658-0234 is our number. The heat wave continues. Sunny again today, near record-breaking highs, around 100 degrees. We're going to have a doctor on telling you how to stay safe in this heat. Meteorologist Mike Favetta has been giving you lots of advice on this in the last few days. He's back with another check of the Garden State forecast. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Ken. It's the first time I've seen excessive heat. Well, sorry, the old excessive heat warning, now an extreme heat warning. They just renamed it, means the same thing. From top to bottom, north to south, across New Jersey, from Sussex all the way down to Cape May, for feels like temperatures of 105 or greater. Usually it's just limited to the urban areas. So to have it this widespread is something quite unreal, and it will stay hot throughout this afternoon, with temperatures already at 90 in Newark and climbing. That temperature keeps going up, with temperatures about 2 degrees warmer than they were yesterday at this time in Newark, 4 degrees warmer in Toms River, and 5 degrees warmer on LBI. It stays humid. It stays hot today, and that dew point, the temperature where the air is saturated above 75, is worse than Miami humidity. That is rainforest, Amazon rainforest humidity working in across New Jersey. So with that, and of course all of the high UV, the air quality watch is up. You might be driving around today and see air quality action or air quality alert on the electronic sideboards on the roads. That means exactly the same thing. The New Jersey DEP issues the air quality alerts, but the Weather Service computers only read watches and warnings, so they just call it an air quality watch. So it goes out and is read by all of the weather systems. The heat index today, starting off feeling like 95 right now at 803 in Newark, feels like 95 in Morristown and 95 in Camden, so you know it's going to be much hotter by this afternoon, feeling like 103 by 3 p.m. The interesting part about today is that while it won't be as humid, it'll be a touch drier. The actual air temperature warms up much higher than yesterday, whereas yesterday reached 101. Today we'll probably get to 103 as our high. And with the heat index again tomorrow, back at 103 in Newark, even 95 in Toms River. We get one more day of this extreme heat before some cooling showers come through and finally break the heat going into Thursday and Friday. So 5 days looks to be long enough for that heat wave, and it breaks, I think, as soon as tomorrow evening. You'll see with the future casts. Today's high, 103 in Newark. These are actual air temperatures that will prevent any of those showers and storms from forming, even toward Camden, 104. It stays very warm throughout this evening, muggy as well, but I think we eventually break through and bring back some cooler weather as soon as tomorrow evening, with some storms that work their way through southern New Jersey just in time for the evening rush, and then northern New Jersey shortly after, helping to break the heat. Look at that, we get down to 85 once those storms pass through, and it stays in the 60s overnight. So even the air conditioning getting a break by the time we get to Thursday morning. Beyond that, going into Friday and Saturday, notice how temperatures stay cool in the morning in the 60s, warming only into the 70s by the afternoon. So a big change. And a little bit of that has to do with the wind shift, the wind coming off of a 72-degree Atlantic Ocean, so making it feel much more comfortable, and of course the clouds helping along. Next 3 days going into the weekend. One more hot day tomorrow, day 5 of our heat wave, and then it ends with cooler weather throughout Thursday and Friday. Some showers in there too. We'll tell you more about the weekend forecast, let you know how the hot weather is faring for next week. It's all coming up. We'll give you those beach details too, Ken. That's in a few minutes.
All right, Mike, thank you so much. Intense heat there. Please be careful. We're going to have our doctor on in just a moment to talk about that. Just a quick traffic update. We have that earlier accident at exit 140 on the Garden State Parkway. We're going to show you video now this is live video from exit 136. So 4 miles south, headed north into the former accident scene. I say former because they moved everything off to the shoulder. It was moving, but now they may have tow trucks pulling out the vehicles. So we're back to some heavy traffic again. So this is a 4-mile high volume delay northbound at Garden State Parkway, exits 136 to 140. Just beware. Give yourself some extra travel time if you're headed that way. We also have some delays at the Lincoln Tunnel right now. We're told we're up to about a 35-minute delay into Manhattan, 30 minutes at the Holland. And take a look at the upper and lower levels of the GWB 8095 approach. You can see very, very heavy traffic. We're told 45 to 50 minutes now. The upper level on the right, lower level on the left. So extra time heading into Manhattan. Pack your patience, please, especially in this heat. 8:06 is our time, and New Jersey is seeing its first major heat wave of the year. Heat wave period. It defines as 3 days or more of 90-degree heat, right? So we have a heat wave. This is the 4th day. And with temperatures soaring to near 100 degrees, health experts are sounding the alarm about heat-related illnesses. Each summer, thousands land in emergency rooms or worse. Most cases are preventable, though, with early awareness and just basic preventive measures. We'll tell you about that. We're joined now by Dr. Jerry Chiricolo, who is the chair of the Emergency Department at Community Medical Center in Toms River. Doctor, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Good morning, and thank you for having me, Ken. I appreciate it.
Well, you bet. It's just amazing how people, when there's an unusual day like this, we're talking about maybe 15 to 20 degrees warmer than usual, how we throw logic out the window and just say, yeah, I'll drink some extra water, and they never do. Or, yeah, I'll put on sunblock, and they never do. Why do people not pay attention to their bodies in cases like this?
Well, I think it's, summertime is a time for fun. You're coming off a long winter. You're enjoying the heat. And, a lot of people get down the shore or enjoy all the amenities that New Jersey has to offer at this time. And they really don't pay attention to really what their body's telling them.
Yeah, and we know that heat waves can be very, very dangerous, but how quickly can heat exhaustion or heat stroke develop? And let's define both for people who hear the terms and don't know what they mean. And who's most at risk?
That's a great question, Ken. So it's a very nuanced question, though. So how quickly it can develop really depends on a lot of factors, right? Are you acclimated to the heat? Are you exerting yourself? Are you exercising? Are you, extremes of age? Well, let's get into so it can happen over minutes or it can happen over hours, really depending on a lot of factors, the humidity, the heat index, as Mike was just talking about. So people like the extremes of age, elderly or the really young, their thermoregulation or their ability to really control their body temperature is really affected at the extremes of age. People with chronic illnesses like diabetes, congestive heart failure, peripheral vascular disease, kidney disease, they're at increased risk. Pregnant patients are at increased risk. Undomiciled patients are at increased risk. People with psychiatric or behavioral health illnesses. So really, it's a really obese people because of the excessive insulation. There's a really big swath of people who are at risk and might not even know it.
Well, I hearken back here. I'll give you the perfect example of when I had what we believe may have been heat stroke because I had to go to the hospital for it. This was back, I was about 25 and I weighed 360 pounds and I was in Cancun, Mexico. Now you see the setup right there. I was on a water pill, Lasix, and I did a morning radio show and drank about 6 cups of coffee. Now you see where we're going. Lasix and coffee, which dehydrate. The night before we were having cocktails, so now I'm totally dehydrated. And at 10:30 in the morning, after our morning show had finished, I went off into a corner of the beach by myself because I was so large I didn't want to be seen. Laid on a towel and fell asleep. Woke up at 1 p.m., 2.5 hours later. You could have wrung out the towel. My skin was dry. I was ashy. I stood up fast and fell right down to the sand. And luckily, a guy with a water cart saw and ran over and dragged me off the blazing hot sand and started dumping ice on my body. And I think I would not have been alive if he didn't do that. And then they got an ambulance. But that is like everything you should do wrong was right there in a nutshell, dehydrated all the way. So now I know a lot of seniors, I'm sorry to make it about me, but I just want to give that example of how you have to be careful. And obese and people who are senior citizens, seniors never feel hot, right? And they never drink enough water. My parents are in their 80s and 90s, never drinking water, and I yell at them all the time. So what should they be drinking? Water? Should they be drinking Gatorade? What do you recommend for seniors especially?
Well, I think, at first, free water is okay to drink and actually should be encouraged. But if you drink too much free water, you might dilute your electrolytes, in particular sodium. And especially since our elderly parents and elderly patients are on a lot of medications, and medications, like you mentioned before, diuretics, which dehydrate you, but it can also throw off your electrolytes. It's very important to change and switch to an electrolyte rich fluid. Now, be careful with the sports drinks because some of them have a really high level of glucose, right? In it, carbohydrates and glucose. Though if you're diabetic, that can actually cause further problems because as your sugar goes up, you urinate more and it can dehydrate and cause this vicious cycle. But incredible story that you have, and you really are truly lucky to be alive because that was a very impressive story. Now, going back
I
to
only tell it. I only tell it because I just don't want anyone else ever to be in that circumstance. It's not. You know what I mean? It's not one of those. Hey, guess what happened to me? I literally I saw stars and passed out. So, but and you talk about the electrolytes, doc. I'm sorry, just really fast just to remind everybody, they now make the sports drinks with zero sugar. So
yeah.
that's the perfect opportunity, right? I'm sorry to step on you, doctor. Please continue.
Not at all. That was a great point. And I think a lot of people can learn from your story, and we'll kind of get into that right now. And that, heat-related illnesses really is a spectrum, right? It could start as simple as just a skin rash, right? A heat rash, we call it, prickly heat. Your skin starts to tell you that, maybe it's a little bit too much. You get itchy, you get these small red bumps. But then it could progress, right, to heat exhaustion or more muscle cramps. Starts with maybe your muscles start to spasm, get a little crampy. Then it could get to heat exhaustion where you really start to feel fatigued. You feel a little nauseous. You're feeling off, dizziness, lightheadedness. And then it progresses to heat stroke. And heat stroke is when you have neurologic findings. You're completely altered. You might even have a seizure. You start fainting. The excessive sweating that you get with heat exhaustion then switches to dry, hot, ashy skin. And that's a true medical emergency. And without knowing the signs of these heat-related illnesses and the progression and not paying attention to it can really cause some bad outcomes.
Boy, I'm so glad you outlined it like that because I think a lot of people just think, oh, I'll be all right. I'll be out in the sun for a little bit. And then, I mean, even those cars we just showed, people stuck in that bumper to bumper traffic when your air conditioning isn't working that great and you get stuck for 30 minutes in that direct heat if you didn't hydrate right. That could even, I'm sure, start to get people a little sick. But pay attention if you start to feel nauseous, that could very well be an indicator. I'm glad you said that. Now, for outdoor workers, athletes who can't avoid the heat, et cetera, just some basic steps that they could avoid having issues.
Absolutely. Well, like we started earlier, we said that, really getting acclimated to the heat. So if you have time to prep and do it in small chunks, 15 minutes of exercise, take a break, build it up over the week and get acclimated. But really, if you want to wear loose clothing, breathable clothing, you want to hydrate early, hours before your exertion or before your work day outside, 2 or 3 hours ahead of time, 20, 24 ounces of an electrolyte rich fluid or water. Take frequent breaks, find shade. prepare your body and give it the best opportunity to be able to handle that heat. And if possible, try to alter your work day or your exercise that's going to be outdoors in the less, the days where the heat is lesser, right? Early in the morning, later in the evening. That 11 to 4 window is really when that heat index gets really high, and the humidity. So try to adjust your work day or your exercise around that.
Dr. Jerry Chiricolo, Chair of the Emergency Department at Community Medical Center in Toms River. Great advice. Thank you for coming on this morning. Please stay cool. Good to have you on.
Appreciate you, Ken. Thank you. Have a great day.
Back at you, Doctor. Thank you. So the heat wave continues. Sunny again, near record-breaking highs, about 100 degrees. Mike Favetta returns with the Garden State forecast. You're watching on New Jersey Mornings. Do not go away. Welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato at 8:15, taking your calls at 888-658-0234. We'll be speaking in just a moment with a Lieutenant General telling us the latest on what's going on, his analysis on the whole Iran situation. He is with News Nation, and he's kind enough to join us. We'll be checking in with him in just a moment. Our heat wave continues in the meantime. Sunny again today, near record-breaking highs, about 100 degrees. Straight to meteorologist Mike Favetta with the Garden State forecast. Mike, good morning.
Good morning, Ken. Yes, that record heat continues again today, likely the second day in a row of breaking the record. But what's interesting to note is that we are in day 4 of our heat wave, like you mentioned, 90 degrees or higher each afternoon. But at Newark today would mark the third day of 100 degrees or higher. I have to see if records are even being kept for that, because that is very rare to have 3 days in a row of excessive heat such as that. 101 is your forecast over in Matawan, Freehold, 100 even at the beaches, 97 for you in Point Pleasant, 101 in Trenton, 101 in Mount Holly, and triple-digit heat continues in Fort Dix. Now, with this heat that is all being protected by the high pressure off to our south, it's allowing for that wind to come in straight from the desert southwest and not allow for any storms to form today. So for this afternoon, we have our record highs possible from the top to bottom of New Jersey. And even tomorrow, as that high slowly drifts eastward, it's another round of excessive and extreme heat across the Northeast here. And that is why you see all of these storms lined up off to our west. They can't break through that heat dome until we get to tomorrow evening, when that high finally breaks down and allows for some storms to arrive across New Jersey. In the meantime, the UV is up at a 10, which is very high. That's the highest it gets all year here in New Jersey. Just one tick away from extreme. That's what you get like down in the tropics. So yes, it is very sunny throughout this afternoon. Not like you'll be able to enjoy it much, because just stepping outdoors is going to feel uncomfortable today. With the dew points, or the temperature where the air is saturated, anytime they're in the 70s, it is humid. Anytime they're above 75, it is downright rainforest levels of humidity. And that's what you see there over in Flemington, in Hunterdon County throughout tomorrow morning. Now, by Thursday afternoon, as the front slides south, that will drop the temperature and the humidity throughout the afternoon. It'll actually feel quite comfortable by the end of the work week. Thursday and Friday, heat wave is over, and we'll enjoy much cooler weather. But until then, got to deal with one more day of 100 plus degree heat. We might hit the hundreds again tomorrow. It's certainly possible, but it all times out with if there's any thunderstorms that form before we get to that 100 degree mark. I think we might do it. And for 4 days in a row to be at 100 or higher is quite unusual. I think that's almost unprecedented, actually. So going into the end of the work week, Saturday and Sunday into the weekend, you see these clouds start to give way to breaks of sun. I think Sunday is looking much drier and sunnier as opposed to Saturday. Saturday should be the cloudier half of the weekend, maybe a few showers around, and then we'll have some passing clouds and showers to start off early next week. As far as this weekend, most of the rain, I think, is limited to Saturday with a high of 80 degrees. And then Sunday looks much drier, not as hot. And that is key. We will kick the clouds out by the end of the weekend and bring back plenty of cooler weather. That's actually below average for a change. So a little bit of a drier, cooler feel setting up in the next few minutes.
All right. Thank you very
Days,
much, sir.
next few
And
days.
you could feel that heat. Man, oh man, I feel it in the
Yes.
basement. That's how it's really bad. All right, Mike. Thank you very much. Let's take a look right now. Actually, first of all, I'll tell you about a crash we have on I-78 eastbound at exit 29 in Bedminster Township. All lanes have just reopened, but it's causing some massive delays. Now we have the 8095 approach to the GWB, about a 45 to 50-minute approach into Manhattan right now, upper and lower levels of the GWB. If we, the camera went down. Is that what just happened? All right, so it's the heat impacting that as well. There it is. It just came back. Perfect timing. So you see the lower level on the left, upper level on the right. That is 45 to 50 minutes crawling into Manhattan on the GWB, 35 minutes at the Lincoln, and not a great help with the Holland Tunnel. That's usually a decent ride, and that's up to 30 minutes right now. 8:20 is our time, and let's just bring up our guest right now, if we could. There we are. President Trump announced yesterday that Israel and Iran have agreed on a complete and total ceasefire, a move that he said would end a more than week-long conflict between the two countries. And under the plan, Iran stopped fighting as of midnight. Israel must stop by noon today, and the whole conflict between Israel and Iran technically should officially be over as of midnight tonight. Joining us now by phone to talk about what this means is News Nation national security contributor, Lieutenant General Richard Newton. Good morning, General Newton. Thanks for coming on this morning.
Good morning, Ken. Delighted to be with you. I'm down a little bit cooler South Florida, but very interesting weather you're going through up there in New Jersey.
We were kidding about it because I live part-time in Fort Lauderdale, and I said yesterday we were saying how it was 8 degrees cooler at this time in Fort Lauderdale than in New Jersey. And all the people up here who complain about how hot it is in Florida in the summer, I love to throw days like this in their face, but that's another day, another story. But I'm glad you're in the cooler South Florida. Sir, first off, with the two sides and the so-called ceasefire, and I say so-called because you already have some skirmishes back and forth that happened since last night. Do you see both sides adhering to this ceasefire, or are they both just trying to get in their little last shot at each other?
I do. I think we're going to have some bumps along the road, but I do believe that the ceasefire will endure at some point, more short term than perhaps long term. I think it will really underscore the fact that both Israel, which Prime Minister Netanyahu has been very clear he does not want a war of attrition, and the fact that Iran has been significantly humiliated, first certainly with the Iranian air campaign, and then with the United States with those awesome B-2 stealth bombers taking out their nuclear weapons development facility along with Navy Tomahawk cruise missiles. So nonetheless, but I believe, Ken, we're on the cusp of a major strategic change here, certainly with Iran and the Mideast. And I haven't seen this in 45 years. Really, if you go back to the Islamic Revolution back in 1979, frankly, we've been at war with Iran, and so has Israel for these 45 plus years. So nonetheless, I think major opportunity here as President Trump literally at this moment heads to the NATO summit in the Netherlands. But and it's not so much we should hold our breath. It's just a matter of a calculation from a strategic standpoint, as well as really the positions that both Israel from strength and Iran from significant weakness find themselves in.
General, do you think that at that NATO summit, many of the world leaders who may have spoken one way publicly are going to pull the president aside and whisper in his ear, "Good job, thanks very much"?
I think you're going to see that, like you just mentioned. I believe that you'll see NATO unified with regard to, first and foremost, supporting the ceasefire, and secondly, if not overtly publicly, but certainly privately, in those discussions, will be very pleased that the United States and Israel have conducted such strategic attacks against Iran, and still waiting for some of that battle damage assessment, but appears to have critically damaged Iranians' nuclear weapons development capability, because that is within the national security interest of the NATO allies and partners as much as it is certainly with the United States.
And certainly every single nation encircling Iran was at risk of an angered Ayatollah with a finger on the button of a nuclear bomb. And the idea that not everybody gets that is just mind-boggling. That all the other Arab states, and I say other, Iran does not consider itself an Arab state. For people that don't understand, Iranians or Persians are Caucasians, and there's been that racial tension, right, between, and plus the Shia and Sunni issue. There's been that issue with the other states around it for generations and generations, going back thousands of years, in fact, over 1,000 years. Do you see this move finally maybe cementing a future of peace in the Middle East that we otherwise wouldn't have seen?
I believe so, Ken. And you really underscored a key point. The fact that Iran has, again, threatened its Gulf Arab, their neighbors, not only for years, but for centuries. In fact, they're the ones that attacked Qatar. Certainly it was our key air base there at Al Udeid, which I've been in and out of. I've flown in and out of that air base. So this is good news, certainly for the United States, good news for Israel in terms of our national security interests, but also for our key Gulf Arab allies and partners. And I think you're going to see that's the trends, forming. That's how the Mideast is going to be transformed now, because of the fact that you have Iran is now seriously isolated from obviously its proxies, Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthis, and so forth, have somewhat been defeated. You have obviously the Gulf Arab partners that are now actually more aligned, certainly more aligned with the United States and our interests, especially economically, Ken. And so they also have seen Iran as a significant threat. So as I said in the top of our conversation, I really do believe we're on the cusp of a major strategic change in the Mideast.
Yeah, and it took leadership on our part, true leadership at the White House to make this happen. Something that presidents on both sides of the aisle for decades were reticent to do. It took somebody who weighed all the odds and weighed all the possibilities and had a good relationship with Israel. And again, also applause to Israel for what had to be years with Mossad of their security and top secret information that they gathered in Iran. They infiltrated Iran at the highest levels. That is unbelievable. Is it that we just didn't realize this all these years?
No, I think we've greatly admired and very clearly informed on the capabilities of Israel's intelligence capabilities, especially with Mossad. Let's not forget their special operations forces. But 2 points I'd like to make on your comments. I think you and I are definitely on the same sheet of music. Iran has been significantly humiliated by Israel over the last 12, 13 days with their air campaign. Just as a couple examples, the Israelis have taken down all 70 of the Iranian air defense batteries. They've taken out over 50 of their military sites. They have taken out their key senior military leaders. They have taken out a large part of their ballistic missile production capability, their launchers, and the actual arsenal themselves. Iran still has ballistic missiles, and they're still capable of striking targets in Israel, but much, much reduced. And so now they're going after, in these last hours or so, over the last 24 to 48 hours, they've been focusing on some of the other Iranian military forces, as well as their state police, who have created such a repressive state against the Iranians. Second point is, let's put a tip of the hat to our president, President Trump, and give him credit, frankly, for bold leadership. He has pushed aside those who, the pundits who are saying that his actions would lead to an expanded regional war, create this conditions for invasion, occupation, and so forth. But I think my point here is, and for decades, U.S. national security strategy in the Mideast and focused on Iran has really been that of trying to contain Iran. It's been really a world of the strategic geopolitical approach has been one of appeasement, in my view. There's also, frankly, this is what has been perceived, perhaps, maybe domestically, but certainly internationally, the U.S. decline. Again, I think that's perceived because now what you see is, to me, a rebirth of very strong U.S. global leadership. Final point, Ken, is that if you look at the battle damage assessment of what happened, certainly in Israel post those B-2 strikes, look at the strategic battle damage assessment. How is this playing in Moscow, in Beijing, with Presidents Putin and Xi and so forth? They are now, and the rest of the world is aware of the strong, capable U.S. military capability, as well as the president will say he has red lines. He wants peace, but he clearly has clear, bright red lines. And if you cross those red lines, he'll act. My final comment. I'm not beating my chest here, nor should we. We have to be very calculated and so forth and very realistic about the future. We still have a long way to go, in my view. However, I believe, as I mentioned, this is time for historical change. We have the right leadership, and we certainly have demonstrated military capability and power and our ability to use it, which will lend itself to deter wars, not create wars.
And I love how President Trump very quickly put out a post saying it's a ceasefire, the war is over, God bless Israel, God bless Iran. He immediately did that. And then God bless the United States. In other words, we're all on the same page now. Let's stop the killing. And I genuinely think the president hates war and doesn't want to see these young men and women dying, God forbid, anymore. And I think a lot of people who are his political opponents, both on the right and the left, by the way, I think they just don't get him. And I genuinely think that he really wants to upset what has been for decades and finally have some peace. It was an honor having you on. I know you have other calls to make this morning. National Security Contributor, Lieutenant General Richard Newton of News Nation, my favorite news channel, by the way. I do watch News Nation all the time. Sir, thank you so much for being with us, and thank you for your service. God bless you.
God bless you, Ken. Thank you for having me.
You bet. Have a great day, sir. It's 8:32 right now. When we come back, more on this incredible heat wave that we're having throughout the Northeast, New Jersey, suffering top to bottom. We have our meteorologist, Mike Favetta. When we come back, you're watching ONNJ Mornings. Very good morning to you. It is Tuesday, June 24th, 2025. Right now we have 79 degrees in rural New Jersey. It's 83 in Trenton and up to around 90 at Newark. Is that right? Wow. I'm Ken Rosato. Welcome back to ONNJ Mornings. The heat wave continues. Sunny again today with near record-breaking highs around 100 degrees. Meteorologist Mike Favetta with the detailed Garden State forecast. Mike, we thought that the colonel was impressive before, and then we get the lieutenant general. My gosh, I'm getting goosebumps with these people. That was pretty impressive.
Next up is the commander in chief. I wouldn't put it past you.
Trump's on hold, but we're busy. Trump, call back later.
Hey, we've got some really hot weather here across New Jersey. You mentioned 90 in Newark. It's now 91 at 8:30 this morning. So that temperature keeps on rising. And I went ahead, did some digging. Today is day 3 of 100 plus degree heat across Newark. That is where the official climate reporting station is, at least for the northern part of the state. The last time we had consecutive 100 degree days of heat was July of 2022, where we had 5 days of 100 plus degree heat in a row in Newark. So with day 4 of the heat wave today, that's only 90 or higher. just 90. It's the stormy weather tomorrow that finally breaks our heat and brings us relief as soon as Thursday. So we're on our way to cooling down. Just takes a little bit of time before we get there. Clear sky across New Jersey with the heat advisory here for Monmouth beaches, as well as the excessive heat. Extreme heat warning. See, I'm used to saying excessive heat warning because I've done that for my entire weather career. Changed this year to extreme heat warning. And then, of course, that orange area up in the northeastern section of the state is the air quality alert. Down south we go, where the beaches start off very warm today, climbing to 94 in Atlantic City. That's on the waterfront. Head inland toward Egg Harbor City, Mays Landing, Hamilton, and Millville. You will find yourself in the low 100s. So a great day to head toward the beaches to cool off. We will likely shatter the 97-degree record set back in 1966 as soon as 11 a.m. today. It's going to be very warm this afternoon, likely getting up to 102 or 103 at Newark. And water temperatures already warming into the low and mid 70s. Wow. Sandy Hook just took a jump there, 74-degree water temperature. So already feeling very pleasant and nice enough to be in the water. With the UV index today at a 10, which is very high. The sun set later and later at 7:30 or 8:32 rather. So with the futurecast showing the clear sky around today, we're protected from any storms, but that also doesn't cool us down. Tomorrow afternoon is where the storms begin to develop. They'll bubble up across our skies. Begin the cooling process. It takes about a day, and then by Thursday afternoon, with the clouds in place, won't be nearly as hot. A wind coming off of the water will also help us cool down a bit. That's some good news, and that will also prevent us from giving us rain into the weekend, because our next front clears us out by Saturday and Sunday. So we go from 102 today to 96 tomorrow, and then by Thursday we're back down in the 70s. It'll feel much more pleasant by Friday. 71 as the high. That'll be nice. 64 is the morning low. So the clouds doing a great job of cooling us down. I think Saturday into Sunday, there's a chance of rain on Saturday, drier by Sunday, but highs ultimately creep back up into the mid 80s, where they should be, by the way, for this time of year. Tuesday and Wednesday, again, the shore points seeing another round of that 90+ degree heat. Thursday, cooling. Friday, cloudy, much cooler, and then sunshine returns for the upcoming weekend. So much better, Ken, as we head into this weekend. They get a break from the heat. But again, 3 days in a row of 100+ degree heat, and we'll probably do that as soon as noon today. That is just unreal.
Well, here I got an idea. If we call 3 days of 90+ degree heat a heat wave, we should come up with a term for 3 days of 100-degree heat. Let's call it "Ugh." How do you spell that?
No, but I think it deserves a term. In the meteorological community, when we have rapid strengthening hurricanes, we call it bombogenesis, or when a storm bombs out. We need some more of a technical term, to maybe a superheat wave or something. I don't know. We'll come.
We'll say it's Yiddish. If we call it Yiddish, why not? I think we could get support for that, especially in the tri-state area. I'm sure.
Yes.
Come on,
And it
you're
would
a
also
senior
apply in
meteorologist.
Boca and in Fort Lauderdale and the villages,
Chicago,
all those
pockets
places.
of LA. I love it. All right, Mike, thank you very much. We just have to figure out how to spell it now, and then we'll get a billboard and we're all set. We'll check back with you, sir. Thank you. It is 79 degrees now in rural New Jersey, 83 Trenton, and 91, as Mike just said, in Newark, where you have all the concrete jungle there holding in all that heat. It never cooled off overnight. So now as the sun comes up full, it's causing these problems. All right, let's take a look at some of the roadways. This is a cool cam, even though it's showing some traffic. Is this not a great shot? Whoever devised this with 511, the traffic people, and I know it's the state that pays a good chunk of this money, well paid and well designed. This you're looking at right here is mile marker 142.8 on the Garden State Parkway, exit 142 Tower. So that's in the area of Hillside, Maplewood. And that is just a beautiful shot of where the Garden State gets wide, but in spite of its width, there's a lot of traffic there. The people who are on the right side hitting more traffic there, if you look, you can see the shadow off to the right. That means they're headed south because the easterly sun is to the left the sunrise. So for those who say, how do you figure out what direction they're headed? You just look at where the shadow is. Hard to do on a cloudy day, but on a sunny day, you could tell. So the traffic is headed southbound. It's just volume at this point. It could very well be people heading down the shore. But that is what we have right now in the Garden State Parkway. Over to the Jersey Turnpike in a roadway, we have a crash right now south of interchange 12 by Carteret Rawway. Technically in Carteret, all lanes are open. A vehicle was just moved to the right shoulder, but the damage is done. We do have delays. We have a crash on 78 eastbound at exit 29 in Bedminster Township, all lanes open, and a disabled tractor trailer on Corbin Street southbound, North Fleet Street in Elizabeth. One right lane is blocked. Let's take a look at the approach to the GWB. 80-95 approach, upper and lower levels, upper on the right, lower on the left. Still about 45 minutes. It has not gotten worse. That's the good news. It's just a lot of volume right now as you make your way across the GWB. And the Lincoln, too, is not that much better with 35 minutes, 30 minutes at the Holland. 8:39 is our time. A tentative ceasefire announced by President Trump last evening seems to have shifted the course of world markets that were staring down a potential oil shock and elevated inflation. Everybody said, oh, the oil markets are going to go crazy. Oh, because the Strait of Hormuz is going to be closed. We're not going to have oil. None of it happened. Once again, all the naysayers, both on the left and the right, by the way, plenty of Republicans saying, shouldn't have done it. Tucker Carlson, he has now proven himself to be an ass. He has been out there on the fringe, decrying everything this president has done. He used to be one of my faves. I don't know. He went nuts. Tucker's nuts. Instead, oil prices have actually plummeted, much to the disappointment of many who do not like Trump. Prior to the ceasefire announcement, Iran's parliament had voted on Sunday to close the Strait of Hormuz, a vital waterway to the global oil trade. The surprise vote and ensuing ceasefire put in sharp relief the global importance of the narrow strait between Iran and the Arabian Peninsula. That's where 20% of the globe's oil production goes through. Under the plan, Iran stopped fighting as of midnight. Israel must stop by noon today. They basically have right now. And the whole conflict between Israel and Iran officially over as of midnight tonight. Let's get back to peace. Peace like we've never seen it in the Middle East. Fingers crossed, everybody. Say a prayer if you're inclined to do so. 8:41, 66-year-old Union City man Francisco Ruiz now facing serious charges after allegedly sexually assaulting a 10-year-old girl at an apartment in Hudson County last month. Arrested Friday by U.S. Marshals, Ruiz is charged with sexual assault, endangering the welfare of a child, terroristic threats, and criminal restraint. Prosecutors say he threatened the child to keep silent. Ruiz is detained at Hudson County Correctional Facility awaiting his court appearance. It's 8:41. 6 people from D.C. and Maryland face charges for a burglary ring targeting New Jersey consignment shops, among others, stealing designer handbags in nighttime break-ins using sledgehammers. The group, including Marco Honesty, imagine the name is Marco Honesty, hit multiple stores in 2024 with 3 detained in Newark Federal Court. They face up to 5 years for conspiring to transport stolen goods. 8:42, the estates of David, Michelle, and Brooke Dreyerman, killed in a Tesla Model S crash on the Garden State Parkway last September, have filed a wrongful death lawsuit in Camden Federal Court. The suit claims the car's autopilot and full self-driving features, cited as defectively designed, caused the fatal crash in Woodbridge. The family seeks unspecified damages from Tesla. Rite Aid is closing 20 more New Jersey stores as part of its second Chapter 11 bankruptcy, adding to over 1,100 layoffs statewide. The pharmacy chain, struggling with debt and opioid lawsuits, is selling assets to rivals like CVS and Walgreens. Customers are urged to transfer their prescriptions as closures continue. 8:42, a swimmer was hospitalized Saturday after he got bit in the leg by a needlefish. That's what you see on the screen right there while he was swimming off Long Beach Island. You could see where the needlefish got its name. The incident occurred near 9th Street and Barnegat Light, with the man sustaining a minor injury. Initially mistaken for a shark bite, authorities confirmed that it was a needlefish because needlefish jump out of the water, and they saw that happening, and that was likely responsible for the bite. The man was treated at Southern Ocean Medical Center. Is doing okay now, but not nice. Those teeth look pretty unfriendly. 8:43, when children spend too many hours on devices, it negatively impacts their mental health. That's what a new study is showing. 4,000 children were tracked starting at the age of 9 to 10 years of age. By the time those kids were 13 to 14, so for a 4-year period, those who spent excessive time on cell phones and social media had twice the likelihood of developing mental health issues compared to those who spent less time on their devices. Issues like depression and stress. The Journal of the American Medical Association reports half of all teens are becoming addicted to their phones. Girls seem to be addicted to social media like Facebook, or they're really more into Instagram and Snapchat, things like that. Boys are more likely to get addicted to video games, but nonetheless, it crosses all spectra. Doctors say children develop better when they, guess what? Go out and play. Spend quality time with your friends outdoors, leave the phone inside, play ball, stay out until dark like we used to do. Parents are urged to set a limited amount of screen time for their young children. 8:44. It is FIFA Club World Cup time at MetLife Stadium. Many officials feel this is good practice for what will be next year's World Cup. The stadium is hosting 9 matches and fans are flying in from around the globe. The Meadowlands Rail Line is running from Secaucus Junction to the stadium every 15 minutes, and supplemental buses are also in service. 8:44. ICE Colorado said on Friday their agents were trying to detain a criminal alien from El Salvador who was convicted of child rape in Italy when members of a left-wing local anti-ICE group alerted him, this person they were looking for right there on the screen, alerted him to the presence of ICE. ICE said the group, Colorado Rapid Response, posted on social media that ICE was in the area, so get away. That allowed that guy you saw on your screen time to get away. His name is Jose Reyes Leonderas, and he fled as a result. ICE shares a Facebook post from the group written in English and Spanish, alerting its followers to ICE's presence in the area and the type of vehicle that agents are using. ICE has asked the public to report Leonderas to federal authorities if they see the migrant, but warned the public not to approach him. It is not known if anybody will be charged with a federal crime in the matter, but this could be considered aiding and abetting. I hope everybody behind that group is rounded up and locked up. Let them spend 3 years in the brink like the January 6 people did for violating federal law. I want to see how they like it. 8:45, we have 80 degrees. When we come back, the Japanese game of park golf makes its way to New Jersey. Also, our heat wave continues. Sunny again today, near record-breaking highs, about 100 degrees. Meteorologist Mike Favetta returns with the Garden State forecast, and we'll take your calls at 888-658-0234. You're watching on New Jersey Mornings. Don't go away. Welcome back to New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato, 846, taking calls at 888-658-0234. The heat wave continues. Sunny again today with near record-breaking highs around 100 degrees. Right to meteorologist Mike Favetta with the Garden State forecast. Mike, it says 80 degrees where I am in like way out in the sticks. Trenton, or as they say there, Trenton, is 83, and are you seeing 91 in Newark right now?
Let's see. Newark has updated to 91 with a heat index of 97. Feels like 97 degrees. Yeah,
8:47
not even
in the
9
morning.
a.m. I know, and I felt bad because at 11 a.m. yesterday, it felt like 105 at Newark. You feel bad for those outdoor workers, anybody working outdoors, construction, or even at the airport where the measurements are being taken for all those out on the tarmac. Just incredible hot weather, and it wears on you, it drags you down, and to be outdoors today, not pleasant, and in many cases unsafe, especially if you're sensitive to the heat, like we had the doctor explain just moments ago. Now, our forecast this afternoon has a high of 102 in Newark. If we get to any number above 97, that breaks the record from 1966, and we'll easily do that, likely in the next few hours. 101 in Hackensack, 100 on the Green in Morristown, and right up Route 23 there in West Milford. 98 degrees. So it stays hot today. It's just as humid as yesterday, if not a little bit less, but that really shouldn't matter because overall it's the air quality that remains quite poor today, especially if you find yourself even toward the beaches. You think, oh, I'll go to the beach. I'll get some fresh air, those sea breezes. No. It's the ozone, or the ground level ozone, that's created at the surface thanks to the air pollution mixing with the high UV that allows for that 167 the air quality reading. Anything above 100 we usually say is unhealthy. Anything above 150 is just not good. And that's what we have today there on the map. You see, even in the corner here, it's on the borderline hazardous side of the scale. So it'll be another afternoon with the poor air quality today. I think tomorrow will be day 5 of the poor air quality as well, as the temperature outlook beyond that sees a little bit of a cooling by this weekend and beyond. We shouldn't see much more of the extreme heat return, at least until the middle of July. So we get a break, which is some good news, and then slightly above average rainfall, which that's fine going into the next few weeks. Our forecast has some thunderstorms returning tomorrow, breaking the heat. We're back in the 70s for Thursday, and we stay there for Friday. So finally a relief from the extreme heat. And then by the weekend, I know it looks like a lot of rain. This shows more bark than bite. Saturday should have a few showers, but I think Sunday ultimately clears out with 84 as the high and looks very pleasant by the end of the weekend. Same for you at the shore. Even though there's more clouds on the board for Saturday this weekend, I think Sunday looks a lot better and minimal rain chances. So overall, keep an eye to the sky by tomorrow afternoon into Thursday. That's our best chance of seeing those storms. And then by Friday, Saturday into the weekend, cools down, dries out, and we're back to the average low 80s come Sunday and Monday. So pleasant weather on the way after our heat breaks tomorrow afternoon. Just a few more, maybe 36 hours or so of this ridiculous heat. And then we're back to average, Ken, going into the weekend and cooling down just in time for Saturday and Sunday.
Mother Nature called and said she doesn't like to be called ridiculous. Thank you very much, Mike. Just saying. Well, it is what it is. As you heard the Lieutenant General before say that it was nice and comfy and cool down there in South Florida where he was. But yeah, I love it. I'm headed there Friday. I'll call and tease you. Well, actually, next Monday, I'll be doing the show from the Southern Command studio. So it'll look the same as this, but I'll let you know how hot it is. We'll check in. So, all right, sir. Thank you very much. Enjoy your day and try to stay cool, Mike. Thank you. All right, you bet. It is now 81 degrees now, again in rural New Jersey, 83 in Trenton, and 91 at Newark. Let's take a look at the Garden State Parkway right now. This is mile marker 150.8 north of the Essex Toll Plaza. So that's the vicinity of Nutley. That's what that would be. So on the right-hand side, that's southbound. That's what you're looking at there. And you can see as you head south, which is toward the toll plaza, that is where you have delays. So people going into the toll plaza are hitting a lot of traffic. It's volume on the other side heading north, not too bad, but nonetheless, that's what you got. Now we have a problem at the Lincoln Tunnel. We have a disabled bus. It's at the Lincoln Tunnel, Center Tunnel, eastbound approaching the New Jersey side, the toll plaza, Weehawken Township with a right lane closed. So that's going to cause a mess. We have a crash on 295 northbound, north of exit 47, which is Burlington, Mount Holly Road in Burlington. The right shoulder is closed. Crash on the Turnpike Inner Roadway northbound, south of interchange 12. Carteret area, all lanes are open. Vehicle moved over to the right shoulder. And a crash on 78 eastbound at exit 29, Bedminster Township, all lanes open. We're told now we also have delays at the Holland Tunnel, the South Tunnel eastbound. Travel time to New York now 30 to 35 minutes. So we have just a mess. Let's look at the GWB, shall we? That's actually now moving better than it was. So now we're told 40 minutes across the GWB, and again 35, depending on what tube you use at the Lincoln. Avoid the center tunnel because of the issue you have with that disabled bus. And the Holland is about 35 minutes. Very slow going to Manhattan today. 8:52, after their air assault on Iran began 12 days ago, people working for Israel's security services called at least 20 senior Iranian officials on their cell phones and warned them that they would die unless they stopped supporting the regime of Iran's Supreme Leader Khamenei. At least one official was told he had 12 hours to take his wife and kid and get out, or they would all be dead because Israel knew where everybody lived, showed pictures of their houses. It's not known which officials heeded the warning, as Israel took out several dozen top Iranian generals, advisors, and nuclear experts. 8:53, forget the heavy bags and endless club choices. A simpler way to play is making its debut in Sussex County, nestled in the rolling hills of Vernon Township. The Great Gorge Golf Course is now home to what's called One Club, a minimalist take on the game inspired by Japan's unique park golf. It's the first of its kind in New Jersey, and it's changing the way people think about time on the green, requiring just one club and one ball to have a lot of fun. On New Jersey, Sophia Braun shows us how it works.
At the edge of New Jersey's Vernon Township, something new is teeing up attention, and it's called One Club. Nicknamed the pickleball of golf, this new twist on the sport is shorter, simpler, and all about socializing.
The cool thing about it is that everything is with one club and one ball. There's no special skills required. It's easy fun. We've had people as young as 4 or 5 years old play, all the way up to 70, 80 years old.
Park golf started in Japan, but One Club is only the 4th course in the country and the 1st in the tri-state area. The 18 holes range from a quick tap to a full swing, making it great for families, date nights, or anyone intimidated by traditional golf.
I think the coolest thing about it is the atmosphere. There's nothing like it around. Between the music, the mocktails and cocktails that we offer at our Hef's Hideaway Bar, the course itself is just absolutely great. And just the views as you maneuver through the course is just really, really cool. There's a great sitting area at Hef's Hideaway that kind of overlooks the entire course. So you can watch and play and always get a drink in your hand as well.
Here at One Club, there's no cart, no caddy, and no experience needed. All you need is one club, one ball, and one goal to have a lot of fun.
It's 18 holes, very similar to regular golf, but it's much shorter of a course. Our course here is only 600 yards versus our regular course about 6,000. Same thing, it's got par 3s, par 4s, par 5s. Our shortest hole is about 30 yards, longest hole is about 80.
If you like friendly competition or are just chasing a beautiful view, this laid-back version of golf is finding its sweet spot right here in New Jersey. For On New Jersey, I'm Sophia Braun.
Nice job, Sophia. Nice job. And good storytelling there. That was really well done. It is 8:55. Volunteers were baffled recently when they unearthed not one, but 2 ancient shoes. I mean, we're talking thousands of years old at an historic British site. The discoveries were made at Magna, an ancient Roman fort in Northumberland. Imagine that was created by somebody thousands of years ago. That is the sole of a shoe. This happened in late May. Photographs show volunteers holding that remarkably preserved leather base there. Apparently the shoes, look at all of them that they found. They have like real soles with grooves in them and stuff. I couldn't do this today. How did they create this? The shoemakers back then, the cobblers as they were called back then, created those shoes. They were buried for 2,000 years. The first shoe seemed to have all of the sole layers intact. The shoe's heel area is still attached to it. I have shoes that fell apart like after a month. The outer sole still contains hobnails. Officials say the find sheds light on how these shoes were crafted. Multiple layers of leather were used to form the sole, held together with leather strip thongs, stitching, and hobnails. Pretty fancy. They knew what they were doing 2,000 years ago. We underestimate them. What if they had sports authority back then? Just saying. It is 8:57. From the Department of Stupidity now, the LA County Sheriff's Office tweeted out the following on their X the other day. You see what's on your screen? The Sheriff's Department in LA, they tweeted out their condolences for all the people in Iran for the bombing. In other words, sorry we bombed you. Hope we didn't hurt you. Idiots. You heard right. They were apologizing for the U.S. bombing the facility where nuclear bombs that were meant to kill us were being created and stored. After backlash from ex-followers, they pulled down the post and tweeted out a modification, but not before enough people screenshotted it. As you could see, we have right there. No word yet on a comment from the sheriff's office. The powerful storm that ripped through New Jersey Thursday caused some havoc at the Formula Drift event in Englishtown. Drifter Jeff Jones found his Z-car crushed by a fallen oak tree with a shattered windshield and collapsed roof. Thankfully, nobody got hurt, but Jones is out of this weekend's event. Straight line winds over 60 miles an hour were blamed, not a tornado. Jones shared the damage on Instagram, jokingly asking for a spare drift car. And New Jersey's 9 House Democrats are defying House Speaker Mike Johnson by displaying replica plaques outside their offices, ostensibly to honor law enforcement, but really not. It's to bash the Republicans for January 6th. They say they're honoring the officer Brian Sicknick, saying he died because of January 6th. Sicknick died days after. He had a heart condition, and they try to say that it's because of the January 6th people that he died, but there's really no evidence that January 6th had anything to do with his death. Sad that he died. May he rest in peace. But the liberals never met law enforcement they liked except for him. It is 8:58 now. Mike says the heat wave continues. Sunny, highs near 100. That's on New Jersey Mornings for your Tuesday. Have a wonderful day. Stay cool. Remember, drink a lot of water. And we'll see you again tomorrow morning starting at 7 a.m. Have a good day.